Okay, you're the way to introduce you. I mean, Grammy award-winning Broadway musical performer, producer, vocalist, actor, original cast member in Hamilton. I'm just so honored to be sitting on this stage, kind of where it all began at Interlochen Arts Academy. So first, I just want to cheers to you.
Cheers.
And thank you for coming out here. We're doing a oat milk latte.
Yes, we are.
With one pump of hazelnut, which...
Just a little bit. I'm not supposed to have any sugar, but...
Okay, just, it's Friday.
Yeah.
I want to start with your 2021 commencement speech, which was right here on this stage. And it was epic. And I'm curious how your nerves were coming onto this stage for that compared to maybe some of your other performances. Was it a different type of nerves, or do you not get nervous anymore?
I have terrible stage fright, and I've learned how to manage it, and usually that comes from like excessive preparation. And if I feel like super prepared, I usually can, I mean, there's always that nervous energy, but it lets me like get through it and rest on like what I've practiced. But I've spoken at things before and patter in between tunes at a concert or something like that. But to like actually write a speech of my own for the like foremost students in the nation who are like, we've got creative writing majors and presidential scholars for the arts. I was just like, I'm not worthy. And, but you know, Interlochen continues even now to offer me these challenges for me to grow as a person and as an artist. And so getting ready for it, I just was thinking about what are the things that I wanted to know when I was leaving. I think about that a lot.
Yeah.
Because I remember being here as a senior thinking like, I have no idea what New York is like. I have no idea what's beyond these woods waiting for me. And so that's kind of where I approached it. Like, what questions did I have, and now how can I answer them? And then of course, you know, they were like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks before it, they were like, so will you have any like miking needs or like musical needs? And I was like, you want me to sing? I thought we were speaking. Yeah. And they were like, well, it's you. So then I got together with one of the students that I mentored in the singer-songwriter program, and I was like, we got to put together something real quick. Here's my ideas. You know, we got together sort of like a three-piece band and came up with an arrangement of a Mariah Carey tune, which to sing a Mariah Carey tune on Kresge stage seemed the ultimate redemption for me, who always had to defend Mariah Carey, like as a classical voice major here. And so, yeah, I was nervous. I was like, how much can I look down? Let me watch other people's speeches so that I can see if you notice, like the eyes going down. And I was like, you don't notice it as much as long as they keep the rhythm of the speech going. And you practiced like I practiced things and got through the nerves. And it's like every successive point as you get a little further through the speech, you're like, oh, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
It's even the same mentality as singing a song. You're in the song, you're in the moment of it, but then there's like outside perspective of like, yes, you're almost there, like keep going, keep going. And then of course, partway through it, you realize that the kids are so with you and they're listening. I'm thinking, oh, they're gonna think I'm cheesy, like, you know, they're not gonna be. They were with it. And so then it just became sort of like this amazing feeling that I always get when I'm here. So yeah, it was a total triumph. And now I feel like I'm this public speaker, you know?
Yeah, you are. I mean, you did have everyone's attention the whole time. And I'm curious, you kind of touched on it, but what was like the most important message of, you know, that you wanted to get across? Like, what was that? If you could...
Be true to yourself as an artist. The world will try and change you and make you change your values when you leave here. And you sometimes forget the human aspect of being an artist. With your fellow artists out there can be like, who do I need to step on in order to get to the next rung versus what I experienced here was, how can we collaborate so that everybody shines and makes it? So I wanted them to stick to that. I didn't want them to get wrapped up in tribalism that seems like so prevalent today, strangely. and these ideas of litmus tests for who you're going to hang out with. It's who's the best artist? Who do I want to be friends with that is going to help build me up going forward?
And all rise together.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of this advice and what I took away, you know, can apply to almost like any career path. And I mean, I was taking notes. I loved when you said a perceived failure in the universe is the universe protecting you from the wrong path, and it's keeping you available for what is right. So I'm curious, you know, in the moment, that's so hard to appreciate this, but what was a failure that, looking back, you're like, that was a gift?
I mean, even going all the way back to here, I was so desperate to move up. I started as a voice major, and then I got drafted sort of into the dance department because I was a non-major playing a party parent in Nutcracker, and then somebody hurt their rotator cuff, and that's how I sort of got into it. I was desperate to move up the ranks, you know, that competitive artist spirit, to get from ballet 1 to ballet 2 to ballet 3 and really be great. And I never got out of ballet 1. And at the time, I mean, it humbled me. It made me, but it made me also focus and try to every year to try and get out, which meant that I was really focusing on the basics of my technique. And that perceived failure at the time carried me through into being able to do any style of dance and apply those basics. And then, you know, professionally, there's so many things that you don't book, or it's between you and one other person, and that other person gets it, and you feel like, what, I could have done more, I could have done something, and then you find out a year later you're on this other amazing project instead of stuck in a series regular on something that's going to run for the next 6 years, and you're locked into that. Now you're available for this thing that's perfect for you. And you can't see it coming. Sometimes it's the next year, sometimes it's 5 years down the road, but there's no wasted experience. Losing will teach you how to approach the next thing. It's gonna give you something. And I see kids get down on themselves about, even at graduation. I had honors, but I didn't have high honors. I wasn't like the lead in anything. I didn't get into opera workshop as a voice major, but here I am on Kresge stage. Like, musical theater wasn't even an option when I was in school, but here I am speaking to you guys because I kept applying myself and kept doing things. And so I shouldn't have wasted any time feeling bad about myself then, because you just gotta believe. If you believe that you're an artist, like I told them, if you believe that you're an artist, then you have to believe in your greatness, and you have to believe that there's something great coming on your path. And then it will, you draw that to you.
So good. So I know you're a Detroit native.
Yes.
And before we get into what Interlochen and the area and Michigan mean to you, I want to touch on the cultural phenomenon of Hamilton. How did the opportunity come to you? And I read that you passed on a lucrative lead role in Aladdin to do this. And I'm curious, at that moment in time, did it feel like a risk? What was that like, those very early days when it was shaping up?
I've always been in New York. It just kind of fell into being an artist who does a lot of like pre-production, who does a lot of experimental work, workshops, and readings of things in their early stages, which I kind of love because it's like, oh, this could be the next thing. I never was super keen on going into something that had already been developed by somebody else. You're stepping into somebody else's tracks, and I had some experience. My first experience with that was Lion King, and I found it very restrictive because they want you basically to do what the other actor did, and even to the point of, okay, and then he would turn around and raise his arm on this line, and you're just thinking like, wow, I'm kind of just filling shoes here and doing things that are starting from the ground up. you're developing that track, you're making it, and it's based on you. So I was always into that. And also, at the time, you know, rent, it was when I was in college, rent was like the big thing. So Broadway was sort of moving towards this more current musical sound, trying to be more radio, trying to be something that would actually be on the charts. And I rapped. I used to do wedding bands when I wasn't working in shows in order to like make the ends meet, the club date circuit. And getting into that, one of the things I used was rapping, and I knew to rap because I'm from Detroit and listened to WJLB.
Yes.
And you know, and so Broadway knew to call on me for those kinds of things. So I was doing a workshop of another show, Graciela Danielle and Michael John LaCusa show called Nine Fathers, and they said, hey, there's just an audition for this story of Alexander Hamilton told through rap. Sounds crazy, I know, but I was like, ooh, that sounds fun. Like, that sounds weird. Like, I want to do that. And so I auditioned for it. The music director, Alex Lacamoire, was the music director of my first demo in Lion King. Wow. Like more than 10 years earlier. He was the pit pianist and played my audition. So to see him in the room, you know, was sort of like a good sign, and he remembered me, and like, you know, we had vibed. And so I booked the workshop, and my agents were like, okay, so they want you for this, and it's this amount of time, but, you know, don't worry, we'll get you something better. And you know, I sort of was, you know, I had read the script at that point and heard some of the demos of the songs, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, this sounds like where I want to be. So I was like, you know, something better, we'll see. But then, yeah, this audition for, you know, the call for the Aladdin came in, and it was to replace a role that was already developed by somebody. You know, with that, there's no chance to be reviewed. With that, there's no chance to, I mean, it's kind of about the money. And I was never really in it for the money. I was in it to like do art and like do fun experiences. So, much to my agent's dismay, I was like, you know, I'm not for that. That's not really what I'm looking for. I believe that this has legs. This is something that's going to go somewhere. I think it'll be the best thing on Broadway that season, whenever it goes. So I'm going to stick with it. So we got there.
So I have to ask, when was the moment that you realized, like, this is something special? Hamilton is like a smash hit.
So the first moment, like, you know, you realize you're in something like really crazy is when we were doing our first workshop performances. And there were like 5 of those for like insiders and potential producers. And there were quite a few like stars who came to see it. And so it really felt like exciting. There was an electricity around it. And then, but that's not when I knew we were a smash. We did the Off-Broadway at the Public, and I think one of our preview performances, we were, you know, doing the first act, and there's this guy in the front row, and he had like a huge gold chain on with like this big medallion and a red sweatshirt. And I was like, oh my God, who is this crazy in the audience? And everybody's talking about like, you know, somebody up here thinks they're Busta Rhymes. And, you know, so backstage we're all talking about it. And then second act, we're like, oh, that's Busta Rhymes.
Stop it.
And then like he came backstage and stayed for like an hour and a half. Talking to us about what he saw. He dressed as King George at his next Madison Square concert, like, I don't know, 3 weeks later, had our costume guy, like, get him this stuff. And that's when I thought, oh, whoa.
Yeah.
What am I in? And then it turned, you know, it went from having, like, some empty seats and, like, total availability for us to get, like, tickets for our friends and whatever, to no one can get a ticket to the Off-Broadway production, and every single night, night after night, is all of these A-list celebrities. And then you're like, oh, wow, you're this really big phenomenon. And then open on Broadway, and like, I've met Obama 3 times, you know, once in the Blue Room in the White House. Joe Biden 4 or 5 times, so Supreme Court justices, congressmen and senators beside, I mean, which is, you know, I love, you know, because I love politics, but then, you know, Beyonce, it's...
Okay, I have all these people written down right here because on top of like performing, like even at the White House and Radio City Music Hall and Carnegie Hall, you have met Biden. I didn't know it was 5 times, or Obama, Biden, Meryl Streep, Jay-Z, Beyonce. Out of kind of all of this, you know, the cherry on top, really fun stuff, what was the biggest pinch me moment, I guess throughout your entire journey thus far?
I mean, Meryl Streep was insane, you know, like, and I was the first one to meet her because I would change out of my costume. Our dressing room was 6 floors up, and so some of us would just change on stage, and so at that point I was doing that. So I had to change out of my costume and then get into my robe before I would, like, you know, go get my clothes and then change again. And as I'm like tying my robe, there is Meryl Streep standing like in the flesh, and I just looked at her, and she just put her, and they caught that moment because the photographers are already backstage. She just put her arms out and came over to me and threw her arms around me and hugged me, and I got to talk to her for, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes of just about the process and being artists, and there were so many moments like that along the way. Too many to name.
Yeah,
honestly.
I'm sure we could we'll have to get an off the record drink and I want to hear all about it. You know, I loved hearing that your mom took you camping across the street here at Interlaken.
Oh, God, yeah.
And how you described this place is the best I've heard yet, that it's like a Hogwarts in the woods between the lakes. How has this place impacted you? I mean, years later, what do you still carry with you?
Interlaken is the reason why I was able to do anything. They were going to cancel my arts program where I was in Southfield because of budget cuts. And because my mom had taken me camping here when I was a kid, I knew about this school. So I auditioned. It's funny, I auditioned as a piano major first because I was had been taking piano lessons for 9 years at that point. And I, of course, was terrible, like not even close to as good as like you have to be to get in here. But I had just started singing in choir. So I auditioned as a voice major. And because of the Skillman Foundation in Detroit, I was able to come to this school, which I never would have been able to do, and because they worked to get me that. And then the training you get here, the exposure to so many different cultures, so many different students from around the world, sets you up for what your artist experience is gonna be like in a hub like New York or LA. I learned to read and write music and name chord symbols so that I could, you know, write my own charts, I could write my own songs. So when I'm like in New York working as a DJ's like assistant in the studio and learning those skills, I also know how to talk to the musicians and say, well, that's an A flat minor 7. And then also like I performed on a stage in a 2,000 seat theater with a full orchestra as a 17-year-old. And you just don't get those kind of professional experiences in most high schools, let alone most universities.
Yeah.
And it gave me the confidence to believe that an artist's like career was actually something viable that I could sustain me in my life. And I can't say it enough. Like, it changed my life. It saved me from who knows what. And because Detroit's tough, you know, and my mom taught inner city high school there. And so I had seen where the roads you could go down. And so to get here was amazing.
Wow. Well, we're going to take our final break and come back to a fun quickfire round. The question I love to ask everyone, we're so lucky to get to know you over a drink, is if you could have a drink with anyone, who would it be, dead or alive, and kind of set the scene?
Oh, wow. I guess I have to go with what comes to mind, and that's Gene Kelly. I got into arts because I saw Singing in the Rain when I was 3 years old, and it captured me, this like world. So if I could set the scene, it would be sort of in like a speakeasy that was in that like set sort of Technicolor, and to sit there and have maybe a Manhattan with him and talk
So
about
good.
like, you know, artist stuff and what it was like for him at 16 years old, doing Pal Joey and going to Hollywood and then becoming this multidisciplinary artist that really just kind of did everything, produced, directed, danced, choreographed, you know, and then left a legacy for someone like me, so improbable, so that I would see myself in Gene Kelly. So I just want to talk about that with him. I had a moment in Hamilton where a father came up to me, chased me across the street. I was trying to sneak out of the building after an Aaron Burr performance, and he was like, wait, can we please say hi? And he had his son, a little like cute as can be white kid, and he was like, you're his favorite. He just idolizes you, and we're wondering if you could sign this. He just looks up to you. And I was just thinking, wow, that was me watching Gene Kelly. And it solidified in me that this stuff we're experiencing today of feeling like we're in these tribes and these are my people because I look like them, that is nonsense. And you can see yourself in anyone for any reason.
Such a great answer, and I loved that story. Thank you for being here. Cheers to you, and congratulations on everything. And I just can't wait to see what else you do. You have a new fan.
Well, thank you for having me.